Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us at Good Governance Yaya's Roundtable discussion. With the absence of our moderator, Chaminda, my name is Tassie, and I will attempt to fill in Chaminda's very large shoes just for today. I wish to introduce the other GGY regulars with me today. This is Chris, Lisha, and Chirantha. And together we would like to welcome you all to day 259 of GGY. GGY is a neighborhood vigil that happens every Sunday at 5 p.m. down Thimrigasaya Road, opposite Health Guard Pharmacy. We have been standing at our street corner since April 2022, where our demands have been for better governance, accountability and transparency, an end to corruption and nepotism, and equal application of the law. And we believe that these could only be accomplished with a system change and a change in political culture. So lots of things have been happening this week, team, okay? And I think the biggest that has been happening is this appointment of Desa Bandu as no longer the acting IGP, he is now the confirmed IGP. I know, Chirantha, you must be having a lot to say about your friend Desa Bandu, but I think we all remember him from the May 9th attack at GGG. We have heard about fundamental rights petitions against his appointment as acting IGP. If you look at this cartoon, I think this cartoon actually sums up a lot of how we feel. I mean, as the acting IGP, there were cases against him, cases about, torture, cases about corruption, cases about the way he has been treating people, who he has arrested and so on. And then now that he's IGP, these will all probably be covered up, swept under the carpet or under this police dress, as in this cartoon suggests. What does it say for Sri Lanka to appoint someone like this, who we know has these cases against him, who we know has been convicted of so many, he's been ordered to pay compensation. What does this mean for Sri Lanka? I mean, is this someone we can use as a role model? Is he someone we can look up to? This is what we are really grappling with, isn't it?
And what would potential investors to the country think if we have somebody convicted in a court under fundamental rights of depraved torture, amongst other crimes which maybe have not been brought to court yet? He was convicted and he has to pay compensation to the victim. We have now appointed him at the top of the police force. What does it say for this country? Is it safe for investors to come?
Is there no one else?
Is there no one else? I mean, surely.
That is a question. Is there no one else?
I heard long ago that apparently Ranil Wickremesinghe didn't want to appoint him. And I think that's why he kept on extending the previous person's appointment and so on. What changed? I'm just wondering, when I heard this news the other day, it made me realize that Ranil Wickremesinghe is not running this country.
That's exactly what I was about to say, because even handing over the post to him was not done by Ranil, it was done by his secretary or somebody. So does that mean that Ranil doesn't want it, but he has no option but to do it? So then who is pulling the strings of this puppet?
I want to intervene here because I have a different view, right? I mean, you mentioned that, would Ranil, I think you mentioned some time before, would Ranil do something like this? And maybe his hands are tied. I don't buy that. He knew very well what he was getting into. He was selected as president by 134 Pohot 2 members of parliament, mainly. So if he thought that he can run this show the way he wants, I think it was obvious, especially for a seasoned politician like him, someone who's over 70, been in politics for all 45 years. Did he actually think So I don't subscribe to the view that, oh, his hands are tied, what can he do?
I'm not saying it like sin for him. I'm saying that I don't think
we hear this a lot,
controlled.
Lisha. We hear this a lot, what can Ranil do? He wouldn't have done this, but his hands are tied. These, at the end of the day, Tassie, it was, his secretary someone may have given the appointment to Desa Bandu, but it's all with Ranil Wickremesinghe. He's a president and it's a signature. He's a president and finance minister. The same way.
You make a deal with the devil, right?
Yeah, the same way, until activists had to keep on protesting in front of health ministry. Some of us were there. And then thereafter, some braver souls protested had a satyagraha, peaceful satyagraha in front of the CID. And they were arrested. Subsequently, out of embarrassment, the CID had to arrest Kehelia. But all that while, what was Ranil doing? He's a president. He could have easily asked Kehelia to resign.
And he's head of defense.
Yeah, all Ranil Wickremesinghe did as president was transferred him from one ministry to another ministry. So that begs the question, why did he do that if he felt Kehelia was innocent? Or if he felt Kehelia was guilty, was that his punishment? So just 2 minutes I want to take out there just to say that my view is that Ranil Wickremesinghe, the blame sits and responsibility sits squarely on his shoulders. It is by his decision that Desa Bandu was appointed. So the Ranil Wickremesinghe, as President and Minister of Defence and Finance, has appointed as an IGP a person who is convicted of torture by courts, a person who is convicted by courts of not being able to prevent the attacks on GGY, and also Easter attacks. So this is the type of person that our President has appointed by his signature as IGP. The question that we have as good governance activists is there no one else in our police force? What type of example does he set to the other police officers?
This seems to follow a trend, isn't it? Even when you think of our parliament. There are so many convicted people who shouldn't be sitting there. This is just following that same trend.
Convicted murderers in parliament.
Exactly. Drug lords.
Drug dealers, gold smugglers. Is there anything that we don't have?
I just want to talk about Desa Bandu's appointment not because of, I have nothing personal against it. I have to be very clear about that. It's nothing personal. But as an officer of the law, he had failed his duties. I knew about this Desa Bandu from this Easter Sunday matter, because his name kept popping up, and he's a person who had leave and was on vacation when the country was on a terrorist attack. So how can such a person? I heard him that there was a new news about him going to put new things like very good law enforcement he is going to create. He has no respect in the police force. He has no respect within the police force. He has no respect within the people. He has no respect from the, if the Attorney General wasn't that, the Attorney General, same Attorney General's department who said that they will not be, appearing for Desa Bandu. This is a man who has no remorse for what he does, and he is definitely a puppet of the corrupted system of this country. So I'm not surprised that he became the IGP. I wanted him to become the IGP, to be frank. When a lot of people called me and asked, he's going to be IGP, what are you going to do? I said, I want him to be IGP, because the man who is an acting IG getting kicked off the force or getting arrested is nothing. It doesn't carry any big weight. But if you are the IGP and you get arrested and you get kicked off the force, that is going to be damaging to their, to their whole reputation and the reputation of the police department.
Will that happen though?
It is supposed, my view of the matter is, I wanted him to be IGP, and then only the things are going to consequences, because I don't want an acting IGP or senior DIG arrested. I want the head of this police force arrested for the things they are supposed to be responsible for.
I think April 2nd, a lot of his fundamental rights petition cases are coming up. There are 7 apparently, some from when he was acting IGP, and I think now after his confirmation as well. So we'll have to wait and see if anything comes with that.
But the thing is, the Supreme Court, now just imagine the situation, why there were so many intervention petitioners, and on that day, on the 27th, why all this, sliding? Why? Because the state, the police force has its own, act. There's a basic rule book which they go on, how they are promoted, how they are demoted, how the police commission. I mean, there are so many number of officers that have not got a promotion because they had been convicted in a fundamental rights matter. There are so many officers that have gone home as SSP or ASP or SP because they had a fundamental rights conviction and they have not gotten promotion. So, if you are to say, no, this man is going to get a promotion, then everybody should be equal before the law. All those officers that were not given a promotion, all those officers who have been given a promotion, who have not been given a promotion, now can ask the courts to give them a promotion. And all those who retired as SP or small lower rank because they couldn't get the promotion because of the FR, they can now sue the state. If Desa Bandu's matter is affirmed, they can sue the state and ask for compensation for salary and other benefits and increments. So basically, to say that it's okay, he can be IGP. If Ranil is to say that he is destroying the state sector, he is destroying, Tiranalas is destroying, Ranil Wickramasinghe is destroying the state system, and they are destroying the police force. That is the simple thing. They are not doing anything, destroying the police. We have a very bad police already. They are going to destroy it completely. That is what they are trying to do.
It's very scary as activists, isn't it? Now that he's the confirmed IGP.
I am happy. I am happy that he is the IGP. Because when Ravi, I forget, Ravi guy who was talking about the Easter. No. Ravi Senat was arrested for a small incident of this vehicle collision, and he was apparently on. He was under the influence. When the normal process is, if there is no harm or injury, major injury, and there is the matter is settled, the financial matters are settled, usually the person gets police bail. That is that's the normal law of the country. If you meet with an accident the next day and there is no state property damage, there is no person injured, there is no with serious injuries, and there is no compensation issue, you will get police bail. You can get police bail. What happened? C.D. Wickramaratne instructed that relevant police OIC to give Ravi Senat police bail. What happened? When C.D. is the IGP, right? He is the very appointed IGP. When he said that, OIC did not follow what the IGP told him, the then IGP CD told him. He followed what Desa Bandu told him. And what happened? Ravi Senat was, I think, inside the remand custody. He's a senior police officer who's a controversial officer who has come out with the truth about the Easter Sunday, and he is going back into the remand custody. Possibly it was a threat to his life also. So
this is what scares me, because when you see
my point is, I am happy that Desa Bandu now is IGP, because we don't have another IGP who is going to take the blame for what he does. He will have to take the blame for what he does.
I understand what you're saying, but I don't know that the way the law and order is being, and the way justice is being meted out unequally, whether anything will ever happen.
We'll come to about the lack of justice later, but I share your sentiment. You don't have much.
My target is not to remove him from as IGP. I want him removed from the entire police force. That is my target, because a man like that, even in the lower rank, is a danger waiting to happen to the police. At the end of the day, it's the reputation of the police.
Yeah, he's definitely not a role model, and he should be if he's going to be IGP. Brings back memories of what happened to Chamira Vijay Bandara, right? I mean, when he refused to take the award from a police officer, he was harassed. His whole family was, questioned and all sorts of things. What could happen to all of us now? This is what we need to now start thinking about. Be very careful with what we say. Anything else? Any last
No,
thoughts
let's
on that?
move to
We'll
the next
on.
one, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've been hearing rumors about Ranil Wickremesinghe wanting to abolish the executive presidency. Now, why is our president bringing this up now, right, when he's nearing the end of his tenure? I mean, he is, at the end of the day, a selected president. He is not an elected president. He's finishing off somebody else's term. Now he's bringing up about abolishing the executive presidency. What do you think about this? Why is it coming now at this time? Shouldn't he have, if he was a just and if he was doing this with good intentions?
I think you just answered your own question. Because before he became president, he was talking about it. Once he was selected as president to finish Gotabay's term, there was no mention of it. Now that he's coming to the end of his term, he knows his chances of being elected are very, very, very slim. So he wants to find another way to remain in power, and the only way he can is, but it's not something that you can do overnight. There's a lot of legislature, there's a new constitution, all that has to be done. So we have to have the presidential election, but something like
September,
that.
something
So
like
they
September
have
or
to
something,
hold it.
yes.
There is no question. Otherwise,
I
there'll
don't
be
think
a
there's any
constitutional
question
crisis.
about, yeah.
No, the thing is, what he's trying to do, we have to see what he's trying to do. We have a parliament that has a term for another year. Now you have to remember that. This is where the whole thing is. This is a parliament which will say, go to the Supreme Court and say, Sabahava ekagada high and pass a legislature that is contradicting the ruling of the Supreme Court. This is a parliament like that. So he wants this parliament to stay in power for 1 year. So what is he trying to do? He's trying to abolish the executive. Once the executive is abolished, there will be no executive presidency. The parliament will continue until its due dissolution in the next year. So what they're trying to do is trying to give more time for the Rajapaksas. But apparently, you cannot just overnight abolish the executive. And even if they try to do it, given the time frame that we are now on now, I don't think the Supreme Court will allow them to carry on that process, even if it is a referendum. Even a referendum, I don't think there is time. So I don't think, as it will clash with the executive presidency election, I don't think the Supreme Court will allow it any time. So if he wanted to do that, what he should have done is he should have tried it about another year ago, just as he came into power. Now, he got the stability. Yeah, the stability. So now it's too late. So it's just a drama. It's just a topic for people to talk about, but it's not going to manifest in anything, and it's only they are trying to, I think, create a bubble of comfort right now to say, at least, are you at least the presidency, and we will have 1 more year to do something. It's a dead man's hope, I think.
I want to be quite clear that we all, I think, I not just speak for myself, we all think this executive presidency has to go.
Yeah.
But you can't just throw it out like the bath, just like...
I think I speak for all when I say what we are trying to say is removing the executive presidency at the tail end of this president's term is a simple bad faith move. That's what it is. If he was genuine about it, right? I think long time ago at some UNP conference also they have decided to do away with the executive president if they became. So now he's a president now. He could have easily done it. So the fact that he didn't do it and now he's trying to do it is a bad faith move.
I just wanted, this little graph that I found is done by Verite Research. This was at the time, June 2022, just when Gotha was very unpopular. Yeah. You can see that 70% of our country wanted him out, right? Wanted this abolished. And here's the man who is just finishing off his term, who wasn't even elected. So how much this graph is going to change if we had to do this research now, All right, so let's move on then. Okay, this has been a topic that we have been talking about for months, right? How our government is spending unnecessary amounts of money on absurd things.
And they are not cutting down on government expenditure. They have increased revenue by taxing the existing taxpayers. They are putting unfair burdens on the poorest of the poor, with VAT being imposed on basic needs. And the fact that 7 million people in a population of 22 million are now below the poverty line. They can't afford to put a meal on the table. They can't afford to send their children to school. I mean, what is this?
And I think when you think of this central bank having these salaries,
and up to 70% salary increases. And let's not forget, I mean, us private sector workers, our only retirement fund is the EPF and the ETF. And that was eaten up by the DDR, while the central bank, which manages our pension fund, have a separate pension fund that...
But also the financial sector also is untouched.
Yeah.
They didn't take any hit.
Nothing.
Yeah, well, on that factor, I mean, yesterday or day before yesterday, I had the opportunity to meet some international media personnel. I'm not going to go down to the names, but we had a long discussion, and what they told was that there was this, until this salary problem, Nandalal had a very good credibility. Now everybody is questioning what he is doing, because what they are seeing is that the central bank actually knows the proper inflation value, and they are defending their expenses and their income from that inflation, while not defending the people. They are to defend the people, not themselves.
That I have to say was disappointing. I must
Very
say.
disappointing.
Lisha, you brought up a very good point also. You were mentioning how now a new doctor is going to earn less than the lowest employee of the central bank. That's a staggering statistic.
I think they had made a statement, no, that for them to work, they need a salary that yeah, exactly. What about the rest of the country? For the central bankers to work, they need a...
Train drivers, the engineers were going on strike and asking for their, what is due to them, due increases, due deficits of the salary and all that. They were, we had ministers coming out with their pay slips and saying, see, amount of money this man makes per month, this amount of OT he makes and all that. And now we have the central bank employees with their basically cloth on the floor.
Okay, so we'll move on because there's quite a few on this topic which are coming up on the next few slides. So one of the things that we have discussed as a group is the overseas travel expenses that our government is...
We don't even have a number on.
Exactly.
I mean, it was highlighted, I think, a ticket alone to the UK was 4.5...
5.6 million. 5.6 million.
5.6 million.
And that's only for one trip.
Person, and he's only one person's air ticket. What about the rest?
But how can it amount to 5.6 million? That's something that baffled me. But still, first class, unless it's for the whole, he and his...
No, it's one ticket. As per the information, as per the news article, it was a one ticket. And this is for the Queen's funeral. I remember there was some banter with somebody when I posted this on Twitter, and they were saying, but don't look at it like that, you look at the return on investment. So my question to him was, he's going for the Queen's funeral. Is he going to the Queen's funeral and talking to other people at the funeral service and saying, hey, can you come and invest in Sri Lanka? Anyway, say he did. Now, he has since he was president, it's over 1.5 years. He has done 15 trips.
I think it's 17.
17 now.
Let's just say 50. Just cut away 2. Okay. What is the return on investment we've had? Right? For the climate conference. They took 80 people and went. What is a climate conference? It's about the climate. Couldn't they have done that via Zoom couldn't our president, okay, our president only couldn't he have gone with maybe his assistant, maybe 5 other staff. Did 80 have to go? So we need to, as activists, as people looking for a change, we need to question these things.
I mean, there was also a conference recently where he was the only head of state.
Only head of state,
Such a
Australia.
demeaning.
Only head of state.
It was like ministers and whatever. I mean, all you need is your actual. Well, you could have sent your. You couldn't even send your environment minister because he's in jail. But there must be experts that could have gone who actually know about the
Ranil
environment.
took over, maybe he went as environment minister there.
I feel now in 2000 now, where the voter base actually showed that they want change was in 2015, which is the voter base that Ranil himself had betrayed, right? Together with Maitri, they betrayed with the Rajapaksas, all friends. So, brother, so anyway, now we have to remember when Mahinda Rajapaksa, he took entire planes and left for their travels, and people voted against the man who saved the country from the war because his misconduct and mismanagement of expenses and overspending and all that. Because of that, people chased out that Maharaja, Maharaja Anani was chased away because he misused funds of the people, and he who has not done any of that and has betrayed the very base of voter base that gave him the chance to do the opposite. I think he's going to be in for a very big surprise at the elections. He thinking the Pohottu voter base will vote for him. Part of Kanchana and some other professional group will be with him, and then they will get some voter base. Yeah, you're up for a very big surprise. So
I mean, personally, I have voted for him and the UNP virtually my life, and I don't recognize the man anymore.
Power corrupts?
Power corrupts, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, this is the man who's going overseas and begging for people to come and invest. Can't he first of all think about how we can get that money for our country locally?
With all the, exactly. I mean, there was it 700 billion or something? There was an article.
602 billion.
602 billion between only Bank of Ceylon and People's Bank in bad loans.
Wow.
That I saw today.
And extended by the government to these two banks, right?
602 billion.
602 billion. I mean, that covers all our... To bring us out of this mess.
And I'd really like to know, now he has gone on 17 trips, Chris. What have we got back?
That's right. What is the return on investment?
This bowl filled with that we have brought
So
home.
basically, Tassie, there was a rumor that he's doing this because he's looking at a position in the UN, right?
How will he? No chance.
No, there was a rumor, right? We have no proof. Anyway, so but if that is true, this makes absolute sense because I think there was a video being promoted by the presidential media division, right? The president is walking up, and there's I think some minister foreign. I think it was Israeli or Palestine. I can't remember. And he suddenly goes up to him and he starts talking to him, shaking his hand, and that guy just gets up and who's this guy,
That's the Palestinian ambassador.
And there's a camera crew, following him, obviously.
So these are these 17 trips for a photo?
Yeah, so it looks staged, so the people need to realize this is our money being used to prop up his failed image, right? And at a time when our country is bankrupt, right? And when he should be in the country, firefighting here, he's out of the country.
I mean, if we can bring up the scams, right? And I think, Chris, you'll maybe talk about those later on.
Later on, yeah.
I mean, that's one step to getting some money back into our country, which we have just...
I want to jump in that where Chris, I agree with Chris, this, he is creating an image that, he was forced to appoint the IGP. I don't be surprised if he comes near the elections and says, I was forced to leave the country because I had no privacy and, I was under pressure. So that is why I was outside the country. So don't be surprised. I mean, he's a guy who will make the story and make the bottom line and try to be the innocent and the victim. And say, please, I wanted to do this. They didn't allow me. That is, I was...
He's the only one who took over the country, no? There was nobody else to take over our country, right? This is what he's been telling us for the last 1.5 years.
So I mean to say that people should be aware. Don't be surprised if he comes out and says, I'm the victim here. He is not the victim. He is the mastermind.
Absolutely. Okay, so we'll move on. This is another hot topic, isn't it, right now? Sri Lankan Airlines. I just want to emphasize something that happened to me personally last Tuesday. I went to drop my son off at the airport. His flight was at 7 in the evening. He joined the queue at 4 o'clock. Sri Lankan Airlines, all their flights are served by 5 counters. My son was in the queue for 2 hours and 10 minutes. 2 hours and 10 minutes to get his boarding cards. Can you believe it? He had to run, practically run. He couldn't even go to the toilet, poor guy. He had to run to make his flight. And then he's sitting on the flight for 1.5 hours because there was a delay. Because why? There was people still checking in. You know, and this is the airline. I mean, they've cancelled so many flights. They have delayed flights constantly. You know, we heard the story about that Australian flight that was cancelled and that person who couldn't even make Christmas with his family, and, you know, all these horror stories. What is happening?
We are talking of the airline, Sri Lankan Airline, who had so good pilots, brave pilots, that went during COVID to countries to save and bring our students and persons who were stuck in those countries. This was an airline that was operating in the middle of the crisis at optimum performance. This was an airline that had the parts, had the labor, had the facilities and resources to do if you take countries, one of the few countries who would go out with their airline and bring their citizens back into the country. Tourists who were trapped during these lockdowns and everything, who gave their, they came out with their life. They risked their whole life, the attendance. Everybody risks their life. And why is it now, just as the government wants to, have a, shenanigan of, selling, all of a sudden they don't have parts, they don't have this, they don't have that, and now we have rats, and because of that, flights are getting delayed. Come on, this drama is over. People are not going to be fooled by this. And I suppose Ranil and Kanchana and all of these, there's a set of goons around Ranil, Pohottua goons who are going to make the base of Ranil. Your days are numbered. Your dramas are over. It's cut.
If we recall, we were a money-making airline, right? So profitable.
Under Emirates management.
Exactly. And it was after Mahinda Rajapaksa wanted Peter Hill, I think he was the CEO
overnight,
at the time.
because
Right?
he wanted a flight diverted, and people chucked off business class
people offloaded
to accommodate himself and his...
And Peter
And
Hill
he
also
refused.
refused.
He was
He
asked to
refused
leave
and
overnight,
he gave
right?
24 hours to leave.
And it's
But
so-
I disagree in one thing. I don't think it's being profitably run now.
Yeah. So can I give you all some numbers? I'm reading off of this. Yeah, right? So News First reported in 2021, the loss of Sri Lankan Airlines was 45 billion. 45 billion. Okay? The loss.
In
2021. Right? I think our year, the amount we spend on Samurdhi is about 50 billion for a year. So this is a loss of 1 year. Then, in the last year, when Emirates was running Sri Lankan Airlines, Sri Lankan made a profit of 4 billion. Thereafter, this was after this Ranil Wickremesinghe fiasco, Mahinda Rajapaksa fiasco, where he wanted these people offloaded, and Emirates had the appointed CEO of Sri Lankan, Peter Hill, refused, and he was asked to leave. That the following year, after Sri Lankan took over, the loss was 9 billion. So from 4 billion profit to a 9 billion loss. That was the first year.
In 1 year, right?
Yeah. And 2021, 45 billion. So, I mean, there are people who say, no, but, we need to have a national carrier and all that type of thing. Why?
Why do we need a national carrier?
No, if it's going to be run like this, why do we need it?
In this country, this bankrupt country, why?
Well, we've advertised for buyers.
But nobody wants to buy this.
Exactly. March 5th, I think, is the deadline. March 5th, 2024 is the deadline to find a buyer. So let's hope somebody comes along. If not, we really need to scrap this and just depend on the other airlines that are coming and giving us some revenue.
Let's look at something else. Who is the current chairman of Sri Lankan Airlines? Ashok Patiragi, right? The head of the Softlogic Group. Now, obviously, it is a political appointment, no? Right? Now, everyone in this country knows how the Softlogic Group is performing, right? So, why would you appoint someone? I mean, clearly he's incapable of running his own company. Why would you appoint someone like that to head a national airline? I mean, some time ago, I think they had appointed, I think it was Chandrika Bandaranaike who appointed Harry Jayawardena. Now that Harry Jayawardena is running a profitable company, was running or is, right? So you can understand, but who in the right mind would appoint somebody who's running a company with such big losses? I mean, everybody knows the losses that Softlogic Group companies are running.
And Chris, to add to that, I hear that.
So clearly he's a bad businessman. And you give him the Sri Lankan Airlines to run.
But then you're also supplementing it by when there are flight delays and all that, there are hotels very close to the airport which are not utilized.
That's right.
All those passengers are brought in buses
To
Movenpick Hotel,
why?
run by
Why?
Softlogic.
That's right.
This is, I mean, it really is making me angry when you see all these.
So do people know? Do people care? You know? I mean, are we willing to disregard all of this simply because we have stability, simply because we do not have fuel queues, we have uninterrupted gas, and we have uninterrupted electricity, we have no gas queues? So I think we as a people need to expect more from our politicians, right? Need to. But I have spoken to so many people. Oh, but compared to Gotabaya, isn't this better? Yeah, it's better. So Gotabaya took us to minus levels. Ranil brings us back to zero, and you want us to be happy? Is that what it is? No. That time is over. We want certain minimum standard. That's why we are here. That's what we want for our children.
And this nepotism has to stop. I'm hearing that even the transportation from the airport is run by Namal Rajapaksa.
Father-in-law.
Tilak, LSR.
I mean, I want to start a transport company now. I mean, this is ridiculous.
No, but your daughter needs to be married to the right person. No, but these are big. These come to big amounts. Then, yes. I mean, this is how we run into such big losses. I mean, we saw how Sri Lankan Airlines, Sri Lanka Cricket, right? Now, everybody has forgotten about it now. Our Sri Lankans typically have this 2-week memory. Sri Lankan Cricket was running so much of losses, right? And there's so much of corruption happening there. We saw how its president, Jayantha Dharmadasa, has been ordering food for the Sri Lankan cricket events from Namaloka hospitals, right? And making money off that, right? And but I cannot, as a businessman, I am also a businessman. I'm a small-time businessman. But as a businessman, what I cannot understand is, after getting all those unfair advantages, Sri Lankan cricket orders food from Namaloka Hospital canteen, which is not, Namaloka Hospital canteen is not designated to supply food. It is designated to supply food to its patients, right? After doing all that and making money on these things, still Namaloka is running at a loss. And recently we saw in the papers how their property is going to be sold, right? So that gives us, what type of businessmen are these people, right? And why are they given these positions? Okay, Sri Lanka cricket, maybe you can argue that it's not a government thing, there's a semi-government or whatever. But things like Sri Lankan Airlines, I mean, the politicians who we elect, we need to expect higher standards from them than appointing chairman to these companies who are not suitable. Let's look at. Sorry, I'll stop after this. Let's look at People's Bank, right? Bank of Ceylon. Until very recently, its chairman was Ronald Pereira or Silva, I can't remember his name, President's Council. Now, he is a member of the UNP Exco. Right? That's a clear conflict of interest. I think activists started speaking about it once they realized his position, once he was appointed to the steering committee for Ranil Wickremesinghe's presidential campaign. That's the time that they realized that, shit, what is this guy doing there? And I think now he has resigned. right?
I think public pressure.
Yeah, but I mean, you expect more from people like these are educated people. So this is what we want to change, right? And I mean, you tell me, guys, right? That the former financier of the UNP, Daya Gamage, owes almost 1 billion rupees to Bank of Ceylon. What are the chances of the Daya Gamage being pressurized to pay that back when the chairman is on the executive, I mean the exco of the UNP? I mean, it's common sense, right? So we need to speak about this more, and we need to tell these people. I mean, those who say no, Ranil Wickremesinghe is the answer. There's nobody else. We need to remind these people. This person comes with all this baggage. Are you okay with it, or are you willing to ignore it?
Same corruption, right, in a different form.
So what we are saying is we don't want slightly better. We want
Spread out more. I mean, the Rajapaksas kept it amongst themselves.
I like you brought the word corruption. This is what we are facing. We are facing now. We see cops, working for the president, and all the politicians, what they say they do, and we see Antare getting hammered, and other protests getting hammered and everything with water cannons and everything. The word is corruption. The word is corruption. We have a corruption commission. I wrote an RTI to the corruption commission. So about 2 years back. Bribery and Corruption Commission. I wrote an RTI and I asked, why does not these things where cops are doing politics and what they want, that is corruption. Why aren't you taking action against it? They are only there when somebody is taking a bribe, they jump in and we have done. No, that's not that. This is what we are seeing, what we are talking here is corruption. The appointments of bad businessmen to higher posts, that is corruption. Those people there, this is the problem. The police commission, though it is said to be independent, there are many police officers inside working there. The Bribery and Corruption Commission, though it is said to be independent, there are so many police officers working there. So, do you expect them to take action against this type of thing? So, basically, we must put a foot down. The judiciary is now putting its foot down. It's very clear. We need a country to live, and corruption is rampant. There is a new act supposedly that is going to do something, but enforce it now.
And see, the thing is, I don't think there's a lack of laws in the country. It's a lack of enforcement, lack of fairly enforcing it equally amongst everybody. Not
that Sumandiran had filed a case for the OSB. We heard it from Iran also. But the thing is, why hasn't this matter? So I don't care about the fundamental rights jurisdiction in that matter, because fundamental rights, nobody goes into prison. Fundamental rights violations, nobody goes into prison. So it's a compensation and fixing the thing, but the corruption laws are there for a reason, and they are supposed to take people to prison. The OSB, if it is said that those said amendments were not made, that is a corruption. They should be behind bars, not inside parliament. So, I mean, this is the thing. The people like Sumandiran and others, Rasamanikam, Iran and all these other people, even Sajid, Anura, and them, they need to, stand now with the judicial system. I mean, I'm not going to say it's 100%, no system is 100% perfect, but as long as they believe that they also need a country to live in, they are on our side. So these people need to stand with the judiciary and try to push it from that end. Not only on the FR. I don't care about the decision of the FR even, because it's not that. It's about corruption.
I think a few years ago we were always talking about the higher ups being corrupt, but we are hearing now that even people in the lower rungs are. And when you look at our government servants, apparently we had only 650,000 recent before, and then now we have over nearly 2 million, right? And apparently we have one government servant for every 16 people in our country, whereas other regions, countries in this region like Pakistan, there's about 150 people to one government servant. This is where we need to...
One to every 16.
To every 16.
So where were these fellows when you went to the airline ticketing counter?
sections in this country, there are several sections in the state service. Certain sections have a overload, and when you take the judiciary, that sections that that have a threat to their corrupt system, those are not given the enough staff. They are understaffed. The registrars are working overtime. They are running here and there. I go to the Supreme Court complex. I see clerks running and with the files and everything. They are struggling with their duties. But those people are understaffed. That section, because those are sections of the state that can impact the lucrative corrupt systems.
And also, I think even in the lecturers and the university system also is severely understaffed, because they are not allowed to recruit. I mean, people are leaving the country. Let's face it, people are leaving the country in droves, and they are not permitted to recruit to replace.
Because it's a threat. Because the educated people in this country are a threat to these corrupted goons.
Just to go back to what you said, Chris, on the day when 4 flights were delayed, 15 of the ground staff were absent. 3 were on leave, and the other 12 had just not come to work that day.
Was there a strike or
there was a token
something?
strike or something, but 15 of the people who should have been there to handle this situation were not there. But what are the repercussions?
But we have such a beautiful country. I mean, a unique country, I think, in the whole world. I don't think there's anywhere that has the resources, beaches, jungles, mountains, you name it, we have it. Ancient cities, culture. But our first arrival, the airport, is an absolute disgrace. Whether you're coming or going, and you step out of the airport, it's like arriving in Africa like 50 years ago. It's horrendous.
I'm glad they're trying to restructure. They're having a new, complex coming up and all that. Let's see.
They need proper parking and whatever. I mean, where are you parking? Miles away? How safe is it even? It's in pitch dark. It's horrendous.
Shall we move on? I must say though that Sri Lankan Airlines had a very, very good reputation. I lived overseas for 20 years, and there were foreigners who would tell me that they often choose Sri Lankan Airlines.
Yeah.
They love the ladies who serve them. They love the food. We need to restore that glory if we ever want to get this airline back on track. And I don't see it happening with the way they're running things now. Okay, right, let's move on. So, I'm sick and tired of people telling me we have stability now. Ranil Wickremesinghe has turned our country around. He's the savior. I've been hearing this now for about at least 6 months. And I want to ask you, what is it that you see that I'm missing?
All I can see is we don't have petrol queues. We have the availability of gas. We currently have no electricity. We have continuous electricity, paying a much higher price, right? Paying a much higher price. But on the same side, obviously the ones who say we have stability don't seem to care. We have 7 million people below the poverty line, unable to afford food. In 2023 alone, nearly 1 million households had their electricity cut, disconnected due to non-payment, some for as low as 10,000 rupees. Last week, we had a DGM who was also spokesman of the CEB come forward and say, what's the problem? Children can study by lamplight. Insensitivity. And all for where are we? I mean, are they traveling by bullock? Are we supposed to travel by bullock carts if there are no fuel? And then the next thing was such a public outcry about it, that he had resigned. But has he actually resigned from the CEB? Or is it an eyewash? I believe, from what I've heard, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, all he did was resign from his post of spokesman.
Just spokesman. But he's still employed by the CEB.
And the minister said that he issued a public apology. The letter that I read, which the minister tweeted, that it was supposed to be the apology. It's not an apology. It's a letter
It's a sorry, not sorry.
It's a sorry, not sorry. It's a letter to his superior explaining why he did it. That's not a public apology. Either Kanchana needs to be told what a public apology is. Actually, Kanchana as minister should be apologizing.
And sacking him at the same time.
And Kanchana is the one who said in his letter, I think, that he has resigned.
Yeah.
But he
That's
hasn't.
absolute misinformation.
Yes.
No. Khan is not going to give an apology. He's a guy who is like, he's a QR man of the savior of the QR, and he's like a big shot. He's like 4 feet off the ground. He's like the next, I mean, he's behaving like he's the next president, you know. He's not going to do any apology. But on the stability front, we must also remember that we had a HUSMA. There was a talk about this HUSMA. There was a state doing a program about අපි දැන් හුස්ම ගන්නවා. You know, you saw the same හුස්ම. ඇති අන්තම් මේ රට හුස්ම ගන්නවා. මේගොල්ලෝ තමයි අපිට මේව කරන්න දෙන්නේ නැත්තේ. And we had goons coming in front of the bishop's house and, you know, talking about husma. So the double game of Ranil is, you know, it's all in the public. I mean, if he thinks he can trick people of this country, if he thinks he can use Bas Gamunu Wijeratna to trick me, he has another thing coming.
Husma මොකටද? I think the famous former minister, I mean minister who's no more alive, Sanat Nishant said oxygen kannada කියලා.
Yeah, exactly. So I think he realized that when he was taking his last breath.
Actually, just piggybacking off what Lisha was saying, the one thing that people keep telling me is about these queues. Don't they realize that one of the reasons the queues, I mean, did Ranil come and just snap his fingers and suddenly Petra came pouring into our country?
That's what they think. That's what they think.
Yeah, that is
Are
their
we that
perception.
foolish to think that, you know, he was able to
That's
do this
what they
overnight? Is it not the fact that, you know, we stopped paying our debts, so we had more money to, you know, get these stocks down?
And also Lisha brought a point. Fuel, which was in the 150s levels, went up to almost 500 levels and now come to 350, I mean roughly. So we are paying more than double. Gas, I think was 1,800. Now what is it? Anyway, it's more than double. CEB rates, it's more than double. Am I right?
And I must say, those are all inflated. Huh? And why are they inflating? I mean, they have these public forums every time they want to review the electricity rates. And people go and they speak, and I posted the link on our GGY page with facts and figures. These guys in October overinflated the requirement. I mean, the country manufacture is down. World demand is down, manufacture is down. They overinflated the requirement of power so that they can buy diesel. And why do they want to buy diesel? Commis.
Yeah.
Commis on the diesel imports.
Yeah, sorry.
Everybody thinks Kanchana is the savior, but actually he's
the Grim Reaper.
very questionable.
He's
Very
like the Grim
questionable.
Reaper. I want to say now, everybody talking about, you know, Ranil saved the country. Everybody said, can somebody go to K-Zone jail? You know the state of K-Zone jail? K-Zone, which is actually part of, I think, mall kind of concept. First one was opened in Katubedda, Moratua Katubedda, where our hometown. Then the next one was opened at Jaila. That was the second K-Zone. I had gone there several times. It was a very lavish, you know, thing. You know, it just closed down. K-Zone Jaila is closed down. Stability. I mean, what people don't understand is the queue and the price are the same, two sides of the same coin. You can have queues, or you don't have queues and you have a huge price which people cannot afford. Now, if you take packet of milk powder, I couldn't find Anchor milk powder. I don't know what's wrong with it. And there was only 1 kg packets, and it was like 2,000 or something. 3,000 or something. And I was like, ooh, I'm not going to buy that. You know, you can't afford it. This is the problem. Children don't get their nourishment because the parents can't afford the milk packet. I mean, we are talking about no queues. Yes, we don't have queues, but we have a people now that cannot buy the stuff.
Disposable income, I mean, forget
Except
luxuries.
except the central bank employees.
Except for them. Forget luxuries, basic needs people can't afford.
I mean, haven't all of us taken cutbacks on?
Of course
you know,
We can
there are
still
certain
afford to
luxuries
eat.
that
We
not
are
just-
We have also taken-
privileged.
we have also
But
taken
we have
cutbacks.
all cut back on anything
extravagant that we could have afforded earlier. We just can't afford it.
I'm a guy who just goes to KFC, McDonald's or something every week.
Heart attack, walking heart attack.
For the kids' toy, no?
Yeah, exactly. I have a collection actually.
Right. But so we're talking about the fact that there's no queues, we have no power cuts. But at the same time, corruption continues unabated. No sign of accountability, right, for any past crimes. No law and order. I mean, that is blatant now. You know, the clamping
For there
down
to be
of...
stability, there has to be law and order. Otherwise, it's just fictitious. It's just...
I mean, I don't see how a country can progress with any GSP or any other, concessions if we don't control corruption. And we talked about how people lower down now are getting corrupt because it is people higher up are also corrupt. Now they can't control. Desa Bandu, can he call an officer and say, don't apply Siddhalepa to the suspect? Can he say that now? Can he say that to another officer? He can't in his right mind come and say that, don't apply Siddhalepa to another suspect.
Is somebody getting extra cuts from Siddhalepa now?
I think they are the only people who are happy with this Desa Bandu's appointment, in addition to the 2 ministers. But actually,
I'm sure they can't bear the thought of being associated with him, I'm sure.
But I think this equal justice is what we are crying for, isn't it?
Law has to be applied equally. We have enough laws, it's just that it's not applied.
Yeah, and so many people being crushed for speaking out, for trying to have a voice, trying to say that this is wrong. And they're just being crushed, and this is happening
And they're bringing
daily.
in suppression laws, broadcast bills, OSBs, rehabilitation bill, ATA. Why? To suppress free speech.
Elections are coming close, that is why.
No, but the thing is that it's not about the elections coming close. It's about an election that they're going to be kicked out of is coming close. So that is why they're running amok.
I mean, the things that Ranil is doing now to score brownie points is just baffling. I mean, he has pledged money to support Gaza.
After sending a ship to the Red Sea and signing a deal with the Israeli Air Force.
Exactly. And
What
for
is
flights to come in
there's
once a
a
week.
terminology. Running with the hare and hunting with the hound.
This is the person who we say is our savior, who has turned our country around. We don't have starving children. We don't have people in our country who are suffering, who can't even eat two
We are
square
going to build a
meals.
school in Gaza, right?
That
After the war.
That might have been forgotten by now because now he's creating. And the money he's getting is by stopping all the iftar parties. I'm just, it just baffles me. It's just so incredulous. I laugh. I don't know whether to laugh or to cry actually. It's getting sillier and sillier when you see what's happening. Chris, you
now
always...
we're kind of getting on to an hour now.
Yes,
so maybe
Chris-
we should now move on to his list of deplorables.
Not
which
my
we
list, our
haven't-
list, yeah.
We haven't read out
Read it
this
for
list
a
for a
while,
long
yeah.
time, and I think it's good to remind the viewers about what we actually stand for and what are these unanswered atrocities that are just being swept under the carpet.
I don't know whether I'll have time to read everything, but I'll read. First of all, this is a list that we have all compiled. I just read it, okay? So if you look at, since we're talking about financial scams, sorry, I'm having a cold. People's Bank, 54 billion in bad loans, has informed the public by MP Shanakyan Rasamanikam when he read out the findings of the COPE report. Then we have the bond scam. It happened in 2015, 9 years ago. The value is 19.5 billion. It happened during Yahapalane government. Ranil Wickremesinghe was Prime Minister then. His buddy, let's use that word, his friend, Arjun Mahendran was Central Bank Governor. Let's say he didn't have the authority then. Let's say that. Let's just give him the benefit of the doubt. Now he is President. He's also Finance Minister. What is he doing about that? It is 19.5 billion. Now, this is the president who says, even though I'm unhappy to do this, on behalf of you all, I'm going abroad to beg for money. Right? This is the president who says that. Right? Sugar scam. It happened 4 years ago. The value was 16 billion. Also, like Nisha mentioned a couple of times, another sugar scam happened under Ranil Wickremesinghe's watch, of course, for a lesser value, but another sugar scam also happened. So this is why there are some who say, these are past crimes. You will never recover the money. Let's forget about that. Let's move on. To those people, I'm saying, had we had accountability for this sugar scam of 16 billion in 2020, which 4 years ago, another one would not have recurred under Ranil Wickremesinghe. So you guys keep justifying these things, saying, we have to have stability first. We need the economy to go on first. Then we'll look at past crimes. Remember, that is just a license for these guys to do this again. Garlic scam, again 3 years ago. Nothing has happened so far. Inferior cooking gas, which resulted in explosions and damages 7 lives and property in 2021, again 3 years ago. Nothing has happened. Bandhu Gunawardena was the Minister of Trade then. Lasantha Alagiyawanna, his deputy. Tushan Gunawardena, CAA Executive Director, highlighted this, the fraud there. He was summoned to CID, just like the activists who protested about Kehelia's fraud were arrested, right? But nothing has happened to Bandhu Gunawardena.
In fact, Tushan has actually given all the evidence to CID. Nothing has happened.
Yeah, right?
And he was threatened, right?
That's right. Yeah. Then import of low quality fuel and insufficient quantities of fuel, which led to people dying in fuel queues. Nobody is responsible. So they create the problem. Then Kanchana comes in, Kanchana takes credit for it. The fuel quota queues are it, and thank you, Kanchana. So we are to blame. We forget that these politicians created the problem, right? But we are brought to such a desperate position that when they give us a small solution, we are so thankful. So remember that they know that they can get away with these things. Recently, Kanchana, the minister, highlighted how there was a huge fraud in fuel purchasing. I think in so many incorrect entries in the system. Now, what has happened regarding that? Nothing. So basically, this is what happens. They come and talk about it. Everybody says, wow, Kanchana has done something. What has happened after that? Is there an investigation? Who is responsible? Now, it's over a month since he made that revelation. What has happened? It's similar to that's the next thing I'll come to the following thing. Okay, then we have the substandard fertilizer from China and having to pay $6.9 million as compensation 3 years ago. The point I'm going to come to is the Express Pearl disaster, right? There was a possible loss of that we could have got of compensation of $6.2 billion, which we haven't got. And now it's forgotten. Nobody talks about it. And don't forget, like Kanchana making these revelations, we had our other minister who likes to make revelations but actually does nothing much. Vijayadasa Rajapaksa, coming and talking about this person taking a bribe of this much.
Also known
right?
as
Deal. What has happened? What has happened? He is a Minister of Justice. This is the Minister of Justice who said that drugs being captured by the police from drug addicts is being He's being tampered with. Right?
Also
No,
that
it's
they plant.
changing. It's changing
They're
to-
planting.
What did he say?
No, previously he said that police plant
plant
planted
evidence.
on people.
Okay.
Plant
evidence. Okay, so this is, the Minister of Justice is making
But
this.
recently we had with the drugster miraculously
flour.
Yes,
like
the flour,
Jesus turned the water into wine. The
No. So
drugs turned
I mean,
into flour.
people, when a minister like this comes, when a dubious minister like this comes and makes an allegation like that, if we are going to continue to say, wow, Vijayadasa is doing something about it. He's doing nothing. He's just making a statement in public. He does nothing thereafter. So we need to remember this, and remember this when we keep electing people like this, right? Then I'm going to quickly talk about 7 killings and disappearance, and I'll stop after that. One is Richard de Souza. In 1990, he was killed. To date, we don't have justice. We don't have accountability. Maybe, not maybe, definitely, I know if this was solved, the following killings that I'm going to talk about would not have happened. Right? Because this person was killed, this journalist was killed, and the killers knew, and the people who ordered the killings knew that they got away scot-free. Thereafter even, people knew that they could do these things and get away. Lasantha Wickrematunge, killing in 2009. To date, no one is responsible. Bragit Tegnaligoda disappeared in 2010. To date, no one is responsible. Keith Noya, assaulted in 2008. No one is responsible. Wasim Tajuddin, killed 11 years ago. No one is held accountable. Dinesh Shafter, killing in December 2022, over 1 year ago. a prominent businessman in Sri Lanka. I say that because we are talking about investor confidence and things like that. No one, I mean, he's no special to the other people and so many other people whose names we are not mentioning. But you know, these are the few names that come into mind. Then the Easter attack. 269 people died on the 21st of April 2019, almost 5 years ago. To date, there is nobody responsible.
And we have the largest defense budget.
$539 billion. And our president... billion rupees. I'm very sorry. Our president, at the time he was elected, said that he's even willing to get Scotland Yard to investigate into this. But a few months ago, when he was interviewed by Deutsche Welle in Germany, he said, no, they've all done their investigations and we are not going to allow any more investigations.
Vijay Das told me that they are ready to give an international investigation, but then he is also missing.
The fact is that they will not go ahead with this. They will not find those responsible because they are all complicit. As Ranjan Ramanayaka said, they are all friends. That is true. Right? They protect each other, which is why as citizen movements we keep saying over and over again, you want to vote for the SJB, vote for them. You want to vote for the NPP, vote for them. You want to vote for the TNA, vote for them. But please think many times before you think of voting for the SLPP or the UNP, because there is no solution there. It is proven the last 75 years, those two parties have they've ruled the country from time to time, and there are no solutions there. So this is why we say, as a citizens movement, we want to see is good governance and accountability, and we will keep highlighting the flaws of those in power. I mean that's where the main flaws are. Yes, we will highlight issues in the opposition. We will, but our main focus is the government and their partners. They are partners in government, because rightfully that is what as citizen movement, as activists calling for good governance, we look at those who are governing the country.
And regardless who is governing the country, if they are governing it in a bad way, we would continue highlighting it.
This brings me back to, when Ranil was elected Prime Minister. Selected or appointed Prime Minister. Somebody asked him, one of the Sky News reporters, I think, right? Whether he's friends of the Rajapaksas. Two things he said come back to my mind, right? He said, I'm not a friend of the Rajapaksas, I'm a friend of the people. The other thing I very well remember him, he invited foreigners to come to our country and come and hold boards at GGG and protest against the government. Right? No, I'm just trying to think, this is the same man who went and crushed the Aragalaya the day after he assumed office. Right? And we have seen since July 2022 how he is definitely tied to the apron strings of the Rajapaksas. So when you think of what he said, I don't know about the three of you, but I must say I had a lot of hope. Maybe I'm very naive, but I had hope when Ranil Wickremesinghe took over. I really thought, he'll do something.
Yeah, but I'm happy the way things turned out. I'm happy that he got exposed instead of, him putting up a drama and getting Gotabe arrested and Mahinda arrested, and if that drama went on, somebody somewhere, out of this world or some entity, something, natural justice prevailed, and he thought he can stay in, he had a stern way of doing things, so he didn't do the drama part. So now he's stuck in the same hole as them. So I'm glad that happened. If not for the Aragalaya, if not he becoming president, I think he could have been the president of the Aragalaya at the next election. He would have been voted in, even we would have been voting him in if he did that drama, Mahinda arrested, Gota arrested, and so on. If that happened, we would be thinking he's the president, he will be the savior of our nation. I'm glad that this has happened the way it is. But I told the people, like foreign entities, that they also, I'm happy that these things turned out like this, because this is the best way
to show the real character.
To show the real character of that person.
It is of course true. Many people think he was, if Ranil was given a chance, he'll do it. So now, people know. People know. I mean, when we said this, I think 1.5 years ago, when he was elected, and when we said this, so many accused, are you mad? Give him a chance. You know, give him a chance, he will do a job. So now, why, but I think now, Tassie, I mean, those who are still talking about how great he is, definitely have an agenda, right? They definitely have an agenda, but I think most realize that Ranil Wickremesinghe is no different to Gotabaya Rajapaksa, they got rid of through the Aragale. So in that sense, yes, people saw his true colors, right? Unfortunately, those true colors for the people to see, it has a great cost to the people, you know. But what to do? So we keep suffering. Yeah.
That is how certain curses work. You know, they come into that castle. They sit in that throne, and then they see their whole world falling apart. Isn't that's what has happened? That is why I always wanted Desa Bandu to become IGP.
Is I mean, like you said earlier, somehow life goes on for us. But you know, recently, just today, I saw a video a friend had shared, him taking while traveling to passing the passport office. How long that queue was, you know. So there are some people who do not have the option. I mean, they have to go abroad. I mean, if things are so great, if there is stability in this country, there is hope in this country, why are these people going abroad? Exactly. Right? So luckily, you and I can somehow manage, but there are many who can't. So in that sense, when we say, in a way, good that Ranil became president, I mean, we can afford to say it, but there are so many who are actually, who are suffering,
And I think it's good to just remind the viewers also that it is Ranil who has tried to clamp down on the activists. GGY was attacked on November 12th. Nothing has been done by the Narayanpeta police. Liberty attack was on January 25th. Kolpiti police was totally complicit. And the Women's Bureau appoints Kolpiti to conduct the inquiry. I mean, we refused, right? We refused to allow Kolpiti to conduct the inquiry.
Kolpiti police.
The Kolpiti police. So these are all under Ranil's instructions.
He's Minister of Defense. He's a Minister of Defense.
It's his responsibility. It doesn't have to be his instructions. He's the Minister of Defense. That is his direct responsibility. If it is not in doing all this, he has to find out who is doing it.
Exactly. So I think we're going to wrap up, and I'd like to hand over to Lisha, who always finds the best quotations to end our roundtable. So over to you, Lisha.
Today I picked up 2 quotes from the Russian lawyer who, is he a lawyer? I think he's a lawyer, no? He's not opposition. I mean, the Putin tried poisoning him, tried many things, arrested him, finally. He's very much an activist, but I think he's a lawyer as well. Anyway, he was murdered in prison, or everybody assumes murdered because there's no cause of death. So I am using 2 quotes from him this week. The first one is, everyone says corruption is everywhere, but for me it seems strange to say that and then not try to put the people guilty of that corruption away. So for those who say, stability and whatever, there's corruption in this country. Why are you shutting your eyes to it? It's not just past corruption, it's continuing corruption. Why? I mean, what kind of stability is that, right? Very relevant. And the second one is, with all these suppression laws, fear tactics, whatever, let's not become a nation of frightened, silent people. So GGY will continue to be here, whatever you throw at us. Thank you.
I think we'll wrap up today's discussion with that. I think that's a really lovely way to wrap up, because we invite all of you to come and stand with us on Sunday at 5 o'clock at Timiga Saya.
Or start your own. Or start your own.
Or start your own neighborhood.
Yeah.
Restart. I mean, we had these neighborhood vigils all over the Colombo and the outskirts. I think it's time for all of these to start again.
There was a saying, somewhere somebody said, just because you do not like your government, that does not mean you don't love your country. Right? Because there are many who try to make that, y'all are anti-government protesters, what are you all doing? Be very clear. We are here because we love our country very much. Right? I mean, that is why we are here. So you can love your country but hate your government, right? And finding fault with your government does not mean you don't like your country. Love your country.
Yeah, because we have problem issues with the government, but not with the state. We are citizens of the state. We love our state. We love our country. Country is context the state. We are not against the state, but we are against those corrupted officials in the government.
If citizens don't come out and speak, if there are only few to do this job, they will continue unabated. The only reason we had some big changes in the Aragale was because so many people got onto the streets. That is the only reason.
Absolutely. And so on that note, I think we will have a wrap from GGY today. Thank you to Chris, Lisha, Chiranta, CK and Anu behind the scenes.
Thank you, Tassie, for hosting and doing an excellent job.
Thank you very much, and see you next week at the same time and Sunday at 5 o'clock at Timigasai.